Welcome to the College Connection podcast, a podcast presented by the College of Registered Nurses of Newfoundland and Labrador. This is the College Connection podcast.
Hello and welcome to the college's special education event. My name is Kelly Kane and I'm a registered nurse and a nursing consultant with policy and practice at the college. Today we will be walking through what registrants need to do in order to renew their practicing license in Alinity. I'd like to welcome Brad Walsh, who is the Director of Registration at the college, as well as Julie Wells, who is the Registration and Policy Officer at the college and the lead for Alinity. Thank you both so much for taking the time to go through renewal of a test registrant in Alinity. Brad and Julie, I know that you've both been very busy recently preparing for the renewal, and as of January 16th, 2025, renewal is now open. And we encourage registrants to renew as soon as they can, but the administrative deadline for renewal is March 1st, 2025, which is not different from previous years. And we will talk about CCP as you walk through the renewal process and some of the key changes that have been incorporated this year to assist registrants with meeting their CCP requirements. Brad, I'll be turning it over to you now to walk us through step by step of what a renewal application looks like in Alinity.
All right, thank you, Kelly. So myself and Julie will sort of tag team on a number of different things related to Alinity. This is our second year with Alinity and doing licensure renewal. So it is a system that you have all been at least once to walk through. So we're going to highlight some changes and key critical reminders for you as you prepare for this licensure renewal. So I'm just going to share my screen there now, and I will highlight a couple of different things to you. Okay, you see it? Good. All right, so here I'm on the college's homepage, and everybody would have received an email yesterday or on the 16th of January telling you that renewal was open. So you can link to the college's website and our Alinity portal through that email, or as well, if you go to our homepage, you will see up in the top right-hand corner the member portal. I'm just going to quickly highlight that on the web page as well, we have other critical information as it relates to licensure renewal. So under the registration and renewal section, we have a couple of different pages. So renewal is its own tab. So if you click the plus sign here, you will see information about licensure, practicing license renewal. So if you're renewing a practicing license, we have some information here, an overview of the process, as well as if you're renewing a non-practicing membership. Information as it relates to that renewal is contained here. We also have a frequently asked questions section where you can open the accordion to get more information about what is the licensure fee for the year. The fee is the same as it was in previous years. So all that information is available to all registrants as you go through your renewal and you prepare. So you can get to the member portal, as I said, by clicking on this button here. We're going to be using our test site today, which looks identical to our live site. It's just maybe a different color. That will be the only key difference here. So we're at the login to the Alinity portal, or a member site. So we're going to be logging in with one of our test records. Okay. So your login is your email address that's on file with the college. It's not your registration number. It's not your name. It is the email address that it's on file. So you should be using an email with us that is an email that you check regularly. Should your email address change, there is a process for you to update that information with the college. Just bear with me for a moment while I log in. All right, so if you haven't logged into Alinity in a while, you'll be prompted to do multi-factor authentication. So what that will do is it will send you an email to the email address on file with a code. That'll be a 5 to 6 character code, so you'll have to check your email address and then type in or copy and paste that code into the field that will pop up to display to you. We've been into this test record recently, so that's why I didn't get that prompt. However, if it's been a while since you've been in, you will be required to verify It's part of security features. That's common now across many different types of sites that you would be using. So when you come to the landing page, this is the dashboard we call, or the home page of the portal. So when you'll log in, you will see over here, you'll see an active permit section. So this shows me what is my current status with the college. So I hold a current RN practicing license that is effective and on the 24th of 2024 of April and expires on March the 31st. Over here on the left-hand side, you will see your options for renewal for the upcoming 2025-26 licensure year. So depending on what you're choosing to renew, there's two different applications. So you'll either renew a practicing license or non-practicing membership. Should you wish to resign your membership as you're retired or moving out of province or another reason, and you know you will not be practicing as of April 1st, and you do not wish to hold a non-practicing membership, you can complete the inactive or resign in good standing declarations. So you'd click into there to resign your membership effective up until March the 31st. So you'd be inactive as of April 1st. If you're inactive, you are not able to practice as a registered nurse or a nurse practitioner. So, but for the purposes of today's session, we're going to be renewing a practicing license. So I click on Renew. That's going to open up the application, and the application is going to be in 3 separate steps. However, before we get to that step, we have a landing page where we have provided critical information as about your renewal. So we ask you to carefully read through this section, as there are links to a number of different documents, information about CNPS, which is our Canadian Nurses Protective Society professional liability protection that you'll need in order to renew your license. Take your time, read through here, and open up any links to documents or fact sheets that will help you prepare for your renewal and answer any questions you might have. I'll just highlight here quickly that there's a number of key changes this year as it relates to your employment information. Once we get to the employment step on the application, I'm going to have Julie talk about those changes to you. And it links to some key documents if you want to learn more information. And those links are going to be on the employment step again, so you will see them later as well. Okay. So I read through all the instructions. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go to my next step, and that's going to open up the application. So as I said, there's 3 steps across the top: a profile update, your continuing competence program requirements, and then renewal, where there's declarations and the confirmation of your CNPS liability protection. And those are the 3 steps. So we're going to walk through those now. Julie, I'll just let you speak for a second, if you wish, about the new question as it relates to racial background and Indigenous identity that we're collecting.
Okay. So as Brad alluded to, we do have some new questions and options on renewal this year, and it's all related to changes from CIHI, which is the Canadian Institute for Health Information. So we do have an agreement with them to provide data. It's actually with Statistics Canada, to provide data to CIHI annually on the nursing workforce. And they this year they updated their definitions, and it's called a minimum data set, so it outlines the fields and the options that we're supposed to collect. So they did add 2 new questions around Indigenous identity and race, and the reason why they are collecting them is to help address inequities in the healthcare system by supporting equity initiatives, workforce planning, and measuring any potential impacts of bias and discrimination in the workforce, with the goal of promoting diversity and cultural safety and improving outcomes for both patients and providers. So the questions are not mandatory, and you can select prefer not to answer if you don't want to disclose that information.
So Julie, if I was doing this and I just skipped it, that's fine.
That's fine, yes, because
yeah,
they're not
okay.
mandatory. If you leave them
Okay.
blank, you won't get an error.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. So here is the information as it relates to the college. So you should always read over your information, your personal information, to make sure that there's no changes. So changes could be you've had a change in name. There's a process to upload a document should you have changed your same particular your last name, marriage certificate, or another legal change of name document. You can upload that right to the application. Any changes in name would require your application to what we call is go in admin review. After you submit it, registration staff have to look at it, look at that identification, make sure it's all legit before they actually change your name in the system. So you can do that there. You can also update your address, and there's a section of the regulations. So regulations are a piece of our legislation that govern nursing practice, and in particular, the regulations are all around the requirements as it relates to registration and licensure. And there's a section of the regulations that do say that you must notify the college of a change in name or a change in address within 30 days of the effective date of that change. So you can update any of this information, your address, your name, throughout the course of the year. Don't wait for renewal for those things. You can do that by doing a profile update in the system at any point in time during the year. Okay. Your education, you're reviewing that. So if you've obtained new education since you did last year's renewal, let's just say you've done a master's program, or you did another degree, or you were diploma prepared RN and you went back to school and did your post RN to BN degree. You can add additional education by clicking the add button here, and then you'll be required to enter information as it relates to the designation, the school you attended, and your date of graduation. Other jurisdictions. So if you are licensed in another jurisdiction in Canada or the US or anywhere in the world, you're required to enter that information on your application to the college. Okay, so you would be able to add a jurisdiction by entering your registration number, for example, and then putting in the name of the jurisdiction where you are licensed. Okay, if you accidentally open a box such as this and you're, oops, I didn't mean to do so, there's a little trash can here that you can click to exit out of there, okay? And that will delete that section. So the next section is the employment. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie again to give us a little bit more information about the changes that CIHI put in place this year as it relates to employment information.
Thanks, Brad. So again, these changes are related to the new minimum data set, data dictionary from CIHI that we're implementing. And previously, we had fields such as area of practice, and the responses were specific to nursing. So it could be community health would be an option. This year, with the new data set, the definitions are across all of the healthcare providers. So they're doing that in order to make it comparable across professions. So you will see new areas of practice and new positions that could be selected by a nurse or a physiotherapist, or they're greatly expanded, as you can see from the box there that Brad has open. The options are quite extensive, much broader than what we had previously. But those fields are required, so you will have to choose something. And as Brad said, the little blue question mark there next to the employment role in the practice area will give you the same link that was on the landing page that will actually provide the definitions from the CIHI data dictionary. So if you're not sure which one is closest to your position or your role, then you can look at those PDFs and select one from the list that best matches what you're currently doing.
All right, so thank you, Julie. So yeah, just to highlight, everyone this year will be also required to update this field here, which is your employment status. So, and CIHI has also extended the options under this area as well. So I'm just going to say I'm employed. Could be part-time, full-time, casual. This for the employment status. It's employed. All right. I'm going to then, yeah, my employer hasn't changed. For example, for this test record, I'm employed at the Health Sciences Center here in St. John's. So I can also required. Last year was the first year that registrants we moved to a self-report of practice hours, meaning the employer no longer, we received submissions of the practice hours that a nurse, an RN, or an NP had completed. RNs and NPs now are expected to keep their own personal records of their practice hours and then report those on their renewal. And this is what all other regulators across Canada as well do with the self-report of hours. So it puts us in line with those other jurisdictions. If you want to learn more about how do I report and keep track of my hours, we have a fact sheet. So you can click on that link right in there, goes to our fact sheet, which has information about how many hours do I need, how do I calculate my hours. We give you some examples. What if I'm not eligible for a license? So if you have any of those questions, please refer to our fact sheet. So I'm going to say, for example, I work full-time. So full-time is about 1,800 hours a year, but you should be referencing your own personal records. You don't want to include any annual leave or sick time. So I kept my own personal records, and I worked 1,650 hours with this employer for the year based upon my records that I kept. So, and as Julie had mentioned, with the CIHI changes, there will be some new information that you have to enter. So it carried over. Last year, I reported I was with this employer, Health Science Center, full-time, and preferred employment type. So I'm full-time because I want full-time employment. And then employment role. So I'm going to say for this one, I'm a staff nurse up on oncology for North A. Okay, so staff nurse now aligns with the direct care provider. Or if I was a nurse practitioner, say working in a particular area, and I'm a primary care nurse practitioner, I would also choose direct care provider. But please look down through all of these to see which best aligns with your role, okay? So direct care provider, area of practice, I'm going to say it's oncology that I work in. If you happen to leave an employer during the year, you stopped working with one employer and you started with a new, you will need to enter a leave date with that employer, which then allows you to still self-report the hours you have accumulated with that employer up until, say, July 31st, I finished with this employer. I can then still self-report the hours I worked from April 1st to July 31st, and then you can go and add a new employer. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to add one. So I'm also going to say I'm working with, let's just see if Ben's comes up. Yep, Ben's Medical Aesthetics, or yep, Ben's Surgery Spa. So as an example, if your employer was not there in the system, this text box down here allows you to then enter the information, which you have to enter the name, the address, location, and phone number of that employer. So then we can then enter it into our system so that others would be able to identify or choose that in the future. Okay, so I'm going to say with this employer, I'm casual, and I'm casual as I wish to be casual. I'm going to say for this one, I am a researcher. Area of practice is research. It's anywhere where there's a red asterisk. That means that you have to enter information in there. So I'm going to say I started with this employer only in January, 2 weeks ago. So 2025, and I started on January the 2nd, and then there's a couple of questions again that's required. This is a new question that we're collecting for CIHI's purposes. Is this organization a staffing agency? So no, it is not a staffing agency or travel company. So I answer no. And then I've only worked 15 hours with that employer, for example. So I'm going to enter that information there. You can add multiple employers. You're not limited in, say, only adding 2. You can add as many employers, nursing employers, as you have. And again, they should only be nursing employment that you're entering. Okay.
Right, I think you might have missed contract type up there. I think
Oh,
there was a
thank
star
you.
by it.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to thank you, because that's a good tweak too. If you miss a field, when you try to submit, it will highlight that to you. So that's great. So I'll come back to that question. But then there's our consents. Okay. So this recognizes your answers that you knew from last year. So do you consent to receive information on programs and benefits? So you should always read through all these consents when you do your renewal each year, and you may want to update and change your responses to those consents. Okay, I will highlight a couple of different ones. So the college does put out a monthly newsletter called Notes from the Practice Team. We only send that information or that newsletter to individuals who have consented to receive it. So if you want to start receiving it, because we put a lot of key valuable information in there, and you can actually use that time that you spend reading such college communications towards your continuing competence program. Easy way to get CCP hours. So yeah, if I say I wanted to change a specific consent, another one is around research. We ask people, we oftentimes get requests from researchers across the country and provincially that are looking to do nursing research or health research, and they want to send out invites to their surveys. So we will only send out those surveys. You don't have to participate, right? So it's, you can look at a survey and say, no, I'm not best person to answer that. So you can answer yes to participate in research studies. And we don't send out a lot in a run of a year. There's Julie coordinates as the research and policy officer. Julie coordinates our research requests, so we would encourage anyone to consent to that question. There's a new question this year around the college. We have registrants who do a lot, assist the college in a lot of our work. One in particular around our disciplinary panel is one example where if you're interested in learning, having your name put forward, should opportunities present themselves, we will reach out to those individuals who have said, yes, I'm interested, to see if that type of work, maybe a working group or the disciplinary panel. So if you're interested, we're going to say yes, and that will just put your name on a list should opportunities become available. So as Kelly mentioned, I missed a question up above, but I didn't realize that as I was going through. So I try to click next. It's going to say, hey, you didn't answer something, and it's going to bring me to that section of the form. So there's a couple of different ones where I missed through. I'm going to say this one relates to a piece of data that moved over from, so I'm going to say that license expired back in 2023. 1225. Okay, now, and if I try to do, it highlighted another area here. This was one that Kelly pointed out to me. So contract type under employer. This is a new required field as well from High around contract type. So I think probably a lot of individuals would be a permanent employee or maybe a temporary employee of an organization, or if you're self-employed, then this is where you'd enter self-employment as well. Okay, so it highlighted, you missed those sections, Brad. Please fill them in. So I'm going to say I'm a temporary employee for this one. And now I should be able to proceed to the next step, which is my CCP. All right, so our continuing competence program. So as you know, our CCP program generally is 24 hours of learning activities that a registrant has to complete during the licensure year in order to renew their license. All right, so would encourage individuals to have your CCP completed before you start your renewal, and to log your CCP before, you would go up here. When you log into the portal, you'll see a My Learning section. This is where you will add your CCP. However, if you have decided to wait, and that's a personal choice, you're going to enter all your CCP at the same time that you do your renewal, you can log your CCP right on this section, step 2 of your renewal application. So there's some critical information here. I don't know if there's, Kelly, I don't know if you want to highlight anything as it relates to the CCP critical pieces for people to know, or?
Well, I guess we're not talking about reinstatement within this section, but I will highlight that reinstatement. I do get a lot of calls with respect to reinstating. People, may have previously logged some learning before they open up their reinstatement application. We did turn off My Learning for people afterwards, but if you did log some learning into the My Learning tab, and you're trying to reinstate and you want to take that learning, you have to reach out to us because that learning needs to be logged into the reinstatement application directly. So that was just one thing that I do receive a lot of practice calls, and I also get a lot of practice calls related to the 20 minutes of inactivity. as well. So a registrant may be in, typing away, logging away some education. And then when they go to log back in and that's all gone. We do encourage, there is a 20-minute timeout. And when you hit save or submit, make sure you're looking for that green confirmation to say that, yes, this has been saved successfully. Because what's happening is, people may be working on something for maybe even 45 minutes. And then when they go to hit submit, they lose that information because the system has timed out, which is a security feature. A lot of, again, that's common with with login sites like that, where it would time out on somebody. So that's just a couple things that I wanted to highlight with respect to CCP.
Thank you. So you'll see on this test account, we have already logged some hours. You'll see here at the top the total number of required hours to complete. The vast majority of registrants would have 24, but let's just say you're a brand new registrant to the college and you only got your license in June of this current year. Your CCP will be prorated at 2 hours per month for each month you're licensed, right? So you'll have to do 12 hours, and it will update as you log each section. All right. So for this test account, you're required to put in your completion date, your hours, your minutes, the description of the activity, and your immediate learning impact. Okay.
Brad,
So
oh, sorry.
yeah,
I just wanted to highlight as for the character limit as well. So that was something that was in place last year as well, but it wasn't reinforced. So the system did allow registrants to go beyond the maximum characters. The system will not allow that this year. So if you have been logging and you've been hitting save for later, the system hasn't been doing that check for you. So what we're finding now is people are trying to submit and now they have errors and they're not sure where that is. Even though it does flag it, it turns it red that you have gone over the character limit. It's not words, it's characters. So just keep that in mind that so it's not 300 word limit, it's a 300 character limit. So I think possibly even the spaces may count. I'm not sure on that, but so every single letter that you have counts towards that 300.
So we're also going to show you a new feature or a new function this year, I should say, as it relates to CCP. So, for example, for the administrative deadline is March the 1st. So if you're renewing a practicing license, you must have your application into the college by the March 1st administrative deadline. However, let's just say you have a education session, a full day conference or 2-day conference that you're attending in March, and you needed those hours from March to meet your 24 hours of learning. So the system will let you, now this year you will see at the bottom a declaration. So if you're trying to submit your application and you don't meet the 24 hours, you are required to read this declaration and declare that you understand, and it will allow you to submit the application. So we're going to demonstrate that now and have the application returned. So I'm just going to say, yeah, I've got that 2-day conference that I'm going to in March 11th and 12th, and I need that. So I'm going to say I declare, I've read through, I understand that I haven't met the requirements, and it's my responsibility to resubmit my form with all of my CCP completed before March the 31st. If I don't, then I won't have a license come April 1st, and I will not be able to practice. So that's what this declaration here is saying. So I understand that, I've read it, I'm going to go to the next. The next step includes our CMPS, liability protection, and declarations. So we would encourage you to, prior to doing your renewal, you should go to the CMPS website and complete your CMPS for 2025 liability protection. If you don't, and you find yourself at this point in the application, you can actually click here, which brings you to the CMPS website, where you will log in to your CMPS account, and you would have set up your account either last year or in previous years. So it would be you have to have your email address and your password to the My CMPS system to log in and obtain your CMPS. The CMPS for registered nurses, the cost is $68 plus HST. For nurse practitioners, it's $159.50 plus HST. That's the basic core coverage that every registrant requires, RN or NP. CMPS also does offer supplemental protection for an additional $140, and I encourage you to read any information with regards to the supplemental protection on CMPS's website. The college, for your licensure purposes, requires the basic core coverage only. Okay, so I go in, I get my CMPS, I pay my $68 plus tax to CMPS, then I return to the application. There's a click me button here. It doesn't work in the test system, but I click on this button here. If I have my CMPS, I'm getting a warning message again because they're in the test system. If I had my CMPS, I would get a green message here that confirms I have CMPS coverage, and it's super quick. It takes a matter of a couple of seconds that it captures that information from system to system. If I haven't done my CMPS yet, I will get a red message that says we cannot confirm your CMPS coverage, and you will not be able to proceed past this step. If you found yourself at that point and you've done information up to so far, you can always scroll to the bottom and click Save for Later and come back to the application once you got your CMPS done, or the next day you want to finish that off. It will save your information. Okay. So CMPS, and then there's also some good standing declarations. These are questions that we ask that are required under our legislation. If you've been convicted of a criminal offense that you have not previously disclosed to the college, if you say yes to any such questions, you're required to provide additional information, and the college will follow up with you regarding this question. So I'm going to say no. And there's another question: is your registration or license under review, suspended, or invoked, or do you have an investigation commenced in another jurisdiction? If so, you are required to disclose that information to the college, and we will follow up with you to get additional information. So I'm going to say no to both of those. And then there's our declaration. So carefully read through each of these declarations because you are required to acknowledge them and accept them. So we have links here to the college's standards of practice and our code of ethics. So those will open up new tabs so you can get additional information regarding the standards and the code. So if you click anywhere, either in the box or usually anywhere along the words here, it will check that box. So we have one on notification that you know. Here's what I alluded to earlier. You understand that under Section 11 of the regs, you must notify the college within 30 days of a change in your name or your address, or if there's any disciplinary procedures in another province. There's some consent statements as well. Privacy statement about your information. And new this year is a new statement of use declaration that has been added in. So carefully read through that. Did we just highlight the college, for example, does not sell, barter, or trade or give away your personal information? Julie had talked about our relationship with CIHI, the Canadian Institute for Health Information. Here's where we're highlighting to you that we have a contract, a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU with certain providers that shares certain levels of information for different purposes. So say, for example, the Provincial Provider Registry. We send information to the Provincial Provider Registry here in Newfoundland and Labrador so that you're able to access other systems. Julie might have a little bit more on a provider registry than I can. Is there any?
The name of it is, I've gone blank. I can't remember what it's called either.
So it's in the system, right? So it connects with the health system, NLHS's system, so that you as a nurse in the system, when you're accessing certain things, the pharmacy network, for example, right? So all those systems are connected in that the system knows, they speak to one another and recognize this person who's in this system over here is a licensed, registered nurse or nurse practitioner. So it confirms access. So just wanted to highlight to you this year that we have a new statement of use around how we use and share your information. Okay. So I have to declare all of these. I'm ready to submit my renewal. I'm going to submit. See what happens. Knowing that I didn't I haven't finalized my CCP. So I'm going to get a screen that says payment cannot be accepted at this time, as your renewal requires review and approval by the college as the next step. So Julie's going to do something on her end now, because what's going to happen is that the college registration team receives notification that an application needs admin review, and we will then carry out what we need to do or follow up with you. Okay? So that will take some time. That might take a couple of hours, or once we're into the very busyness of renewal, it could take the college a couple of days to get back to you. So once we do, you will receive an email from the system which says to you, the college has provided feedback. You must now log back into Alinity to see that feedback and then take action if necessary. Okay? So it's important that once you get any emails from the college, you carefully read them and then follow through on what the direction is that you're being given. Okay?
That's done. You can refresh there now.
All right. So I got that email to say I needed to log back into the system as the college provided feedback. All right, so I'm going to go back to, I logged back into the Alinity portal. I see my 3 steps across the top. This is my renewal that is currently open right here. So it's going to go back to click on the update step, which brings me here, back to the profile update again, and you will see the comment that was provided by Julie. So which says the college has received your application. You must now complete your CCP. So we are essentially returning your form to your control so that you can then log your CCP in a timely manner. So I now have completed my 2-day conference. It's now March the 14th. I've done my conference. I will now have to go back in and update that information. So it brings me back to the profile update, but nothing here has changed. And I can now go to the next button, which brings me to the CCP step. Okay, and now I'm just going to click add a new activity.
It's down at the bottom.
Down at the bottom. Thank you, Julie. So now a new field has opened up there. So I'm going to put in 2020. That won't let me future date something. So you can't future date something. The education has to have occurred. But I'm going to say, I'm going to put in that it's the 15th of January, for example, 2025, 0115. And I'm going to put in that it was, just so we can get through, I'm going to put in 24 hours. But if it was, it should be the actual time that you completed, 0 minutes. And I did a 2-day, conference, CONFER, conference on wound care. Okay. So that has to be the 20 characters. That should be 20 characters. Learned about new. Sorry, I got a spelling mistake. Learned about new research related to wound healing and products. Here. This will. Sorry, watching me type. This new knowledge will benefit.
I'll just take this time, Brad, as you're writing there, just to reinforce that you see, like Brad is writing what he learned, and it doesn't have to be, really, really specific. You can be, you can have 1,000 characters here, but making sure you tell us a little bit about what you learned, and then also what that impact is on your practice as a registered nurse. And I just want to reinforce too, Brad, because I know we went through this renewal assuming that you needed the learning that you did in March. So the March 1st administrative deadline remains unchanged. So even if you had a conference you were attending in March, you would still go in before March 1st to complete, step one and submit that renewal application, knowing that you have CCP. But truly, it is meant for those who do have those like conferences that are really relatable to their and it has such good impact on their practice, and they want to use that. It's the general rule that those 24 hours of learning should be completed before March 1st, and you can get your entire application in. It is meant for those people. We did hear from some registrants who really wanted to include some of those. It could be a conference that always happens in March, and it's directly related to the area of work, and they really wish that they could include it. So that's what this was. Alinity was able to do that, but again, I just want to stress the importance of if you can get it in, all of it in by March 1st, please do so, because like Brad said, it's not automatic then, right? It has to go to registration. They'll give you back your form, and just to avoid any possible technical troubles, just to get that in by March 1st if you can, if possible.
So I would just say I'm just looked at my own CCP learning that I have to complete as a registered nurse as well. So if you've kept some of your own personal records, you can copy and paste into these sections. You don't have to actually type in. So I just copied some of my summative evaluation from another screen, and I can actually paste that right in here. Okay. So if you've kept your own records and Word documents or other documents, you can copy and paste that information in there. So now I've got my learning all done. Let's see if it causes me to have any errors now. So if I go click the next, it's going to, as Kelly had alluded to, so I had met all the character limits in there. So if I hadn't, I would have been prompted to, that section would have been highlighted, and I would know that's too long, or maybe it's too short. So you have to take care of that. So I've submitted my CCP. I now
I would
brings me
just
back to these
point
steps.
out,
Oh, sorry,
sorry,
yeah,
Brad, that
yeah.
the any learning that you enter when you initially submit, when you use that new declaration, is locked. So if you go back to the CCP learning plan, you can't make changes to the stuff that was in your learning plan when you initially submitted it.
Thank you for that, Julie. So yeah, so Julie's saying here,
They're grayed
this
out there. You
activity
can't
is grayed
edit
out.
them.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
But just make sure
So
that they're correct before you hit the submit button.
all right, so it brings me back to this step. If my CMPS had been confirmed already, I'm not going to have to do that again. It recognizes that those steps have been done. It recognizes my answers that I had already previously been given. You'll see these little green messages pop up on the side of your screen. It's telling me if it's red, actions required. If it's green, things are working good. So it saved my profile update. My continuing education plan has been updated. So you can just close those out, but they're giving you messages as you process through. So now I'm ready to submit my renewal again. If you are on your employer payroll deduction program and the college has received your licensure fees from your employer, which is about actually half of our membership is on their employer payroll deduction program, you will not be prompted for payment when you get to this step. If you hit submit and the college has your $412.47 already in our system, you will go right back to the dashboard and you will see that you now have a future dated permit that commences on April the 1st. Okay, but for this record, I'm be required to pay. So here is where you would enter your information for the pay, and you'll be prompted to enter your credit card information here. This is the test system, so again, I'm not going to be able to complete a full payment, but you'll enter your credit card, your expiration date, and all the information and hit pay. Once you then do, you will be brought back to the home page, and if you were to log out at any point in time, so you'll see here I got a green message, your renewal has been submitted. It will be approved once payment is received. Any outstanding invoices that you have money owing to the college, you will see in yellow under the My Invoice section on the landing page of the Alinity site. Okay. So I don't know if you can do that payment on your end, Julie.
Yep, I was just waiting.
Okay. So Julie's going to, in the test system, say that invoice has now been paid. And I've refreshed my screen, and now it shows me under the active and future permit section that I have an RN practicing license that is effective on April the 1st, 2025 and expires on March the 31st of 2026. I'm also going to take you to our member portal, our member search or our online public directory. And
You have to go to the test one.
yeah, thank you. So this is where you and or your employer can verify your licensure status, or a member of the public can verify your licensure status. So if you just search by name, first name, last name, I only need to put in my first name. It shows Jasper Snow, registration number. This is my current year, so I hold a license for the 24-25 licensure year. However, this little icon there next to my name, if I hover over, says also my future registration. If you also click into the details section, you will see here future registration is the 25-26 licensure year. So that's an overview of Renewal. Any questions, Kelly, or Judy? Anything, other information we want to share with people?
I guess it would be to reinforce to to get it done as soon as you can and get it off your plate, to do that just in case there is any issues. But Brad, like you said at the beginning, being the second year now, registrants are getting used to Alinity, and the big change in the CCP, or big thing that's being reinforced now, is that character limit. So just making sure you keep it succinct and clear about what you learned, and that impact on your statement, or the impact statement. Make sure that is included, because the audit will be beginning after April 1st. We're not sure exactly when, and that's the things that we'll be looking for when we do that audit. We'll be looking for what the new knowledge was, and then what that impact is on your practice.
And there is one more thing about CCP. After your license your renewal is approved, you can go back in if you want to continue to log CCP, to put it in your log. You won't be able to edit anything that was on your approved renewal, but let's say you want to keep track of your learning for CNA certification, and you do learning in February or March after you've already submitted and had your renewal approved. You can go back into My Learning and continue to add activities up until March 31st.
It's a good reminder. Yeah, thanks for that, Julie.
So as I said, the college, check the practicing page, non-practicing renewal page, or FAQs. We will update our FAQs if we're starting to hear something that is not addressed in the FAQs. We can update those at any time. Encourage you to talk to your colleagues, to tell them, remind people about Renewal. We are here. You can call the college. During Renewal it does get busy, so you may not get somebody immediately, but if you leave a phone message, we will certainly return your call within a matter of a couple business days. As well, you can always email registration@crnnl.ca and with your questions. And we will respond to you. Sometimes if people are having issue or difficulty, what we might say is we ask people to take a screenshot of what they're seeing so we can help further guide you and best answer your questions. So all of our contact information is on the website, so you can reach out to anyone on the registration team and we will follow up and try to assist you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Brad and Julie, for that walkthrough. I think it was very clear, and it seems very straightforward. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to go through that with us today.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
This has been a presentation of the College of Registered Nurses of Newfoundland and Labrador.